of the murder of Catherine Wells Barr. She was smothered in her sleep at her home in Chard last September.
We're going to look at another horrifying situation with you today. One of the most emotional and much anticipated occasions in a woman's life is her wedding. However, not all aspirations end in happiness, having a fairy tale conclusion. Welcome to True Crime. Let's get started. The story overview. We are in Somerset, England right now. Southwest England is renowned for its well-preserved medieval castles, historic towns, and King Arthur stories. However, they are not the only legends that surround the present country. Orlando, a local, was rushing home on September 12, 2012, after working a lengthy night shift at a petrol station. He was going to take their young daughter Maria to daycare, as he had promised his wife. The roadside trees whizzed by, one after another, and the car played loud music to keep him awake. Coming out of a sharp turn, he noticed black smoke. Orlando began to slow down. He saw a car catch fire in an adjacent parking lot, blowing smoke into the air. Orlando stopped and rushed there to get a better look, but the fire prevented him from getting very close. When the firefighters got to the site, 4 minutes had passed, and the car was entirely destroyed by fire. As the police arrived, they used safety tape to create a perimeter around the area so that the gathered spectators could stay away. The location was quite empty at this early hour of the day, and there were no witnesses in the area who could pinpoint the precise moment of the incident. When the situation was examined, a burned body was found. The victim's identity and the reasons for this horrible death had to be determined by the police. No scratches or evidence of an automobile collision could be seen in the area. There were also no tire tread marks found from another car. The authorities initially believed that the car might self-ignite or spontaneously fire due to the flaw. There was still a long investigation and several expert analyses to come. The deceased's identity and cause of death were determined by transporting the remains to the forensic laboratory. Additionally, pieces of the burnt car were sent to the forensic lab so that any problems could be found and the origin of the fire could be determined. The police began their inquiry by reviewing the missing persons database and recent cases of disappearances. The body was promptly identified by forensic experts. She was a 23-year-old local resident, Catherine Wells Barr. However, Rafal Nowak filed a missing persons report on the same day regarding the young woman's disappearance. Rafal Nowak's report states that he departed for work at 5:30 a.m., while Catherine, his girlfriend, was still asleep at home. Even though they were employed by the same company, he began his shift 2 hours earlier. However, Rafal called the police when Catherine failed to appear for work, and he was unable to locate her around the members of her family. An investigation was launched. The police questioned the victim's parents and sister, as well as Rafal Nowak, who reported her missing, and all of her co-workers and friends. By putting together details of the final days and years of the girl's life, they were able to piece together a series of events that ultimately resulted in her death. Catherine Wells Barr. Catherine Wells Barr was born in the United Kingdom in 1989 to parents Phil and Jane Wells Burr. She has an elder sister named Leanne and was the second kid in the family. While on summer vacation from university, in 2010, Catherine met 31-year-old Rafal Nowak. He was a Polish immigrant who had a former wife and son back home. However, Rafal and Catherine soon began dating. They first got together for lunch at the production site cafe, but their casual get-togethers soon evolved into lovable dinners. Rafal attracted Catherine beautifully, giving her lovely bouquets, taking her to watch movies, and going for walks. Their romance developed so quickly that, in a matter of months, Catherine brought Rafal to her parents. With great joy, they accepted their daughter's decision within the family and wished the couple continued happiness. The couple was soon organizing their wedding. After earning her honors degree from Bath Spa University in 2011, Catherine was hired by Pneumatic International as a business analyst. Catherine had a good education and was very intelligent. She was always aware of how to approach people. Catherine Wells Burr's career was rapidly progressing. Her significant income, along with that of her partner Rafal Nowak, enabled them to buy a large house in Willow Way with a terrace. Despite their financial situation, the house was purchased with a mortgage, and the young couple obtained insurance coverage in accordance with their bank agreement. Youth, successful careers, love, and more. They appeared to have all they needed for happiness. However, everything changed on September 12, 2012, the terrible day that would change their lives forever. The investigation continued, revealing previously undiscovered details about Rafal and Catherine's lives. They found that 29-year-old Rafal Nowak fled Poland in order to avoid excessive debt, leaving behind a wife and child. After moving to the UK, he got to know Anna Lagwinowicz. They had stayed in close contact since 2008. Then Katherine entered the scene. Rafal saw both women for a while, but in the end, he decided on Catherine Wells Barr because he thought she was a better fit for starting a family and having a stable income. While Katherine sincerely hoped to marry the man she loved and begin a family, Rafal was preparing a plan to kill her. He intended to keep the large house and the life insurance payout for himself and his mistress, Anna Lagwinowicz. This crime plan was well thought out and carried out with even more cruelty and brutality. After a few hours of waiting on the day of her absence, Rafal went up to Catherine's boss to find out where she was. In front of Catherine's co-workers and family, he pretended to be truly afraid and hopeless. Katherine was not found at her parents' home, nor at her own. Her vehicle had also vanished. Rafal said that she had been receiving threatening letters from a mentally disturbed admirer for some time. Her relatives then got in touch with the police. The family was in the living room of the young couple's home, waiting for her return, when they found out that a burning car with a body inside had been discovered. Rafal pointed out how typical the previous evening had been before she vanished. After work, the pair had gone for a walk, went to a grocery store stop, had dinner, and watched TV before going to bed together. Katherine didn't seem frightened or uncomfortable. However, a more thorough inquiry revealed that her death occurred earlier in the day. At about 2 in the morning, Katherine was probably sleeping in her own bed when she was strangled. Then, in an attempt to remove any evidence, her lifeless body was put in the car, driven a short distance away from the house, and set on fire. Rafal Nowak, however, had a strong alibi. He arrived at work at 5:30 a.m. and claimed that when he left, Katherine was fast asleep in bed. The discovery of the flaming automobile occurred between 6 and 7 a.m. But by 1:30 a.m., Rafal was still at home, which drastically changed the direction of the case. As a result, Rafal Nowak was named as the main suspect in Catherine Wells Barr's murder. Rafal claimed that Katherine was being pursued by a stalker who had repeatedly written to her and driven her to hysteria. Findings. Investigations discovered that Katherine did, in fact, have profiles on a number of adult-only websites, suggesting a secret side to her life that her loved ones were unaware of. Investigators looked through Rafal's phone and found that he never stopped talking to Anna Lagwinowicz and meeting her. Even, they have met regularly in recent months. It was also discovered that the man had financial needs, since they had jointly taken out a £123,000 life insurance policy shortly before Katherine passed away. Katherine and Rafal were the sole beneficiaries of the insurance contracts and recipients of the payouts for each other. Investigators learned that Katherine had texted Anna Lagwinowicz on the day she disappeared. Surveillance footage also showed that just a few days prior to the crime, Anna filled a gas canister to its fullest with her uncle. As a result, the case involved a third party. Anna Lagwinowicz, 32, and her uncle Tadeusz Dimitryshin, 38, were named as suspects in the conspiracy to commit intentional crimes and use arson to hide evidence. The three of them spent several months carefully planning the crime. In order to create a false trail and mislead the investigators, they meticulously planned the crime, making accounts on pornographic websites, uploading manipulated images of Katherine. The man argued that Anna had organized and carried out the plan to kill a rival out of jealousy. She charged Rafal, on the other hand, with acting brutally in order to obtain the house and the insurance settlement. To evade detection, the masterminds built a web of lies around an honest and joyful young woman. They posted her fake profiles on websites used by people looking for casual, personal interactions. The conspirators made great efforts to hide their crime, not only lighting her body on fire, but also constructing an entirely fake history for her. Their goal was to present Katherine as a promiscuous lady with many desires and secrets. They effectively portrayed a mysterious lover who had the potential to end her life. One of the conspirators sent a text message to this fake individual from Katherine's phone at 5:17 a.m. on the day of her death, implying she was on her way to see him. However, forensic specialists found that Katherine was just dressed in her beloved nightgown, not what she would have worn on a date, when the fire started out in the automobile. They discovered a missing pillow on her bed, and the only pillowcase was laundered and hung on a clothesline, leading the authorities to suspect she was suffocated. Investigators discovered a SIM card associated with the number Katherine was meant to text that morning in Anna Lagwinowicz's vehicle. In Lagwinowicz's apartment trash bin, they found notes she had written. A week prior to the start of the trial, Lagwinowicz asked another prisoner to secretly pass a fake confession from a hitman who said Rafal had paid him £20,000 in order to kill Katherine. The story written by Lagwinowicz may have provided terrifying insight into what happened to their victim. According to this, in the days before Katherine's death, Rafal Nowak performed the part of a devoted boyfriend, holding hands and kissing her in front of relatives. In addition to refusing to accept responsibility for the young woman's death, Rafal Nowak informed her mother, Jane Wells Burr, that her daughter was getting texts and letters from an ex-boyfriend who claimed that no one else could have her if he couldn't. He even went so far as to say that she mentioned killing herself to wrap things up. To make things even worse, Nowak allowed the distressed parents to console him, believing he was also hurting about the young woman he loved. After Katherine passed away, Jane, her mother, gave Rafal a hug and gave him permission to call her mother. That's how realistic his acting was. She said that she decided to provide him with the greatest amount of support when the police informed her early in the investigation that he was viewed more as a witness than a suspect. I thought if Katherine loved him that much and he was part of our family, then he deserved to come back. The case. Rafal Nowak, a 31-year-old factory worker, was therefore found guilty of killing his lover by suffocating her with a pillow while she slept. He then conspired with his secret lover and her uncle to claim a £123,000 life insurance benefit and a part of the house. Anna Lagwinowicz, 32, who was his secret lover, and Tadeusz Dimitryshin, 38, who was her uncle, drove Katherine's body to a distant place and burned it on fire. Lagwinowicz and her uncle Tadeusz Dimitryshin, who was also a resident of Taunton, are thought to have driven Katherine's body 7 miles from the city to a secluded area in her Ford Focus. They set the car on fire at 6 a.m., by which time Nowak was already at work, providing him with a solid alibi. The trials. The lengthy trial commenced, and the jury was informed during the trial that the 3 defendants were interested in acquiring half of a £137,000 two-bedroom house and a life insurance payout of £123,000 after Catherine Wells Barr passed away. Rafal Nowak reportedly displayed no emotion when police found the woman's body in her burning car early on September 12th, according to testimony given to the court. Anna Lagwinowicz, who frequently shook her head and laughed on the defendant's bench when Nowak accused her of the murder, declined to testify. Dimitryshin also did not testify in his defense at the trial. The judge told the defendants that the murder was an awful, cruel crime. However, during the sentencing, none of the 3 displayed any emotion. The 3 Polish nationals were given mandatory life terms with a minimum of 32 years behind bars and no chance of early release, according to the judge. Also, he remarked, "You took the life of a beautiful young woman who had everything to live for, all for money." Rafal Nowak, the photos of you holding Katherine's hand the evening before her death, buying groceries for what you knew was her last dinner, are utterly chilling. Your emotions were directed only at yourself. Anna Lagwinowicz, your behavior was deceitful, manipulative, and cruel. You played your full part in this horrendous crime. And you, Tadeusz Dimitryshin, it was a murder for gain. There were substantial aggravating circumstances and no mitigating circumstances, the judge continued. More. Even though there have been many tears shed in that court, this was one of the most delicate cases that anyone could possibly be shocked about. Even the judge conveyed heartfelt sympathies to Katherine's parents. They had no idea that the appearance that Rafal Nowak portrayed to them was a person devoid of remorse and decency. It was all about the money. There were no connections between Nowak and Katherine. They did not have children. On the other hand, Anna Lagwinowicz's crime was driven by jealousy and a desire for revenge. Taken together, Catherine's crime was motivated by money, selfishness, and greed. At the parents' request, the judge read statements from Catherine's mother and sister. As her statement was delivered in court, her mother broke down in tears. It stated that Catherine was a unique, remarkable, kind, devoted, truthful, and thoughtful young woman. However, everything was over. Finally, 3 Polish natives, Rafał Nowak, Anna Lagwinowicz, and Tadeusz Dimitryshin, were convicted guilty of the crime by the jurors of the Royal Court of Bristol. Rafał Nowak and his Polish lover, Anna Lagwinowicz, had been having meetings and phone conversations for months before the crime, and Catherine had no idea that she was involved in what would ultimately become a triangle of love. The parents of Catherine Wells Barr, the young lady who died, demanded tighter immigration laws after the verdict. After their daughter was tragically killed, Phil and Jane Wells Barr separated and said that if immigration laws in the UK had been as strict as those in the United States, Rafał Nowak, who was convicted of assaulting his wife in Poland, would not have been permitted to enter the country. They blamed the fault on the European Union and said that the UK should tighten its rules regarding entry for foreign nationals. As the sentence was delivered, Catherine Wells Barr's family members sobbed in court, but the 3 of them had no feelings at all. The 3 criminals were given life sentences without the chance of release. They now have their entire lives to think up criminal ideas, but they will never have the opportunity to carry them out. Our thoughts and prayers go out to those involved. We hope you enjoyed our true crime overview of Catherine Wells Barr's death. Be sure to be a True Crime subscriber and hit the bell icon to never miss another true crime video. Leave a comment and a like to show your support. Until next time, stay safe, and if you have a true crime story you would love to see, please be sure to leave in the comments below. We look forward to seeing you in our next video.